Hey everyone, how are we? I know my eyes are red. I've been awake for hours, but my eyes just don't want to wake up. And they're itchy and blurry and yeah. Sorry guys. Sorry. Look, since reopening the medbed group, look, I know the Alliance has asked me to go quiet. There's no more information to give about medbeds except that they're available. But at the same time, while they're putting off the RV appointments, then people have questions, new people come into it. Even though all the information's there, people don't want to spend time to do the research. So I just want the best for everyone, and stuff the Alliance. They want me to go quiet, make me sign an NDA. Until I sign an NDA, I'm happy just to give bits and pieces and just cover the information that we've already been covering for such a long time. So since reopening the medbed group on Telegram, it's been 12 hours or something now, not even that. So many people are saying, I want to be trained, I want to be trained. Okay, now we've discussed this training multiple times, and I've done a huge purge on my YouTube channel about a month ago. And I looked for the training video, and of course it was one of the ones that was purged. Of course it was. Of course it was. So now I just want to go over the finer points of training. Yes, I'm still in my pajamas. It's still very early. I haven't really woken up yet. Okay, alright, training, where to begin? Now, if you want to be trained, if you want to work with the medbeds, you need to be employed by a medbed centre. Okay, that's either in development, in planning, or one that the Alliance is running that will treat the humanitarians. Now, the Alliance ones that treats the humanitarians, I don't know how you will get in touch with them or if they were advertised. I don't know, okay? All I know is the centres that humanitarians are planning and will be developing are the ones where you gain employment to get trained to use the medbeds. Okay. No employment, no training. This is not like university where you can just sign up to the medbed training course. Okay. This is to weed out the people. Okay. So you actually need to be hired by a centre in order to get training. Now, who is eligible to get training? Right. Or rather, who needs to be trained? Okay. Who is required to be trained on the medbeds? Anyone who is working with patients. Okay. With patients. Anyone working with patients. So doctors, nurses, emergency staff, counsellors, dietitians, physiotherapists, Reiki, anyone who is actively working with someone who is going through medbed treatment is required to be trained on the medbeds. Why? Because you need to know what the process feels like so you can help others through it. Otherwise, you're just going back to the old system and it's reading from a book. That's not the way of the future education. Future education is you learn on the job. Okay, so your training is actually doing it and becoming the patient yourself. Now, part of your training will also be to use the medbeds. Okay, that is required. You must use the medbeds as part of your training. Right, now, who is not required to... Oh, and managers. Managers of medbed centres and healing centres are also required, even if they're not in direct contact with patients, they are also required medbed training. Can't manage a centre of something if you don't know what it is. if you don't know. Okay, so who is not required to go through medbed training? Okay, kitchen staff, cleaners, gardeners, yard keepers, maintenance people, firewood gatherers, security, animal carers, you know, those kinds of people. All right. So clinical staff, which means those in direct contact with patients, working with patients, are required medbed training. Those who are not clinical, meaning everything else, receptionists included, are not required to have medbed training. Now, everyone going through the medbed training will automatically be enrolled in the spiritual counselor training. It's automatic, okay? That is required. It's a requirement. So if you think you're just going to go and press a few buttons on the medbed, yeah, no. Okay. Now, there will be periods of time where you actually have to attend a medbed education center for however long. It could be a weekend, it could be a few weeks. It just depends on your level of experience and knowledge. Okay, where you will learn how to safely move and transfer patients, where you will learn emergency techniques and things like that, not just using the med beds. Okay, there's a whole lot more than just rocking up for a weekend and pressing a few buttons. They can download the medical information that you need, but you actually need the physical practice, because you're moving a spinal patient. Yeah, you know, one wrong move and it's lights out. You know, you're looking after people that are on life support. You press a wrong button or move them the wrong way or something and lights out. Then it's a whole new emergency situation. All right, so you actually need the practical experience as well as the knowledge. All right, so that's what the in-person training is for. A very large majority of the training will be online for both the medbed and the spiritual counselor training. Okay, now both training courses will begin after the redemption appointments. Okay, both of them will begin after. Probably the spiritual counselor training will begin first, okay, followed by the medbed training. Okay, it might start a week or two apart. I don't know. I'm not up to date on that. Right, now, people funding centers. If you want to fund a center but not work in it or manage it yourself, so you're not having anything to do with the center itself, you're just funding it, no, you do not need medbed training. If you want to fund the center and work in the center with patients, yes, you will need medbed training. Now, what was I going to say? I have heard rumors that every humanitarian, every person receiving funding for whatever projects, and every person involved in the projects, doesn't matter what your position, doesn't matter what project or how involved you are, I've heard rumors that you may be required to undertake some form of spiritual development education. Okay, remembering these projects is to advance your consciousness and expand your awareness, and not to heal the earth or to heal people. The projects, including the medbeds, are designed for expansion in consciousness. All right, so even though you're healing the physical, while you're healing the physical, you are expanding your consciousness. That is the whole idea. That is moving from 3D into 4D, which is a transition phase, then eventually moving into 5D New Earth. Right, so all the projects are here simply to build the foundations for the new earth, and while you're doing the projects, you are also expanding your awareness and consciousness. Okay, that's the whole point. Okay, we're not healing the old earth, we're creating the new earth. All right, very big difference, very big difference. Okay, so what other questions can I think of that people have been asking about training? Now, there are 3 main centers in America one in Australia. I don't know about other countries, but they are everywhere. Every single country, every country has med beds ready to go. Now, will every country have a training centre? I don't know. I don't know. You may have to go to a country next to yours for training. For example, maybe New Zealand has to come to Australia for training. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know, okay? And the training centres will be secret, okay? Only the people directly involved will know where they are. You can't just rock up and say, I want to be trained, okay? Or you can't just send me a message, Skye, I want to be trained, where do I go? Go look for a job in a medbed centre in the positions available group, which I will put the link in the description. Get hired, and then they will put, the centre manager will put forward your name to the Alliance, and the Alliance will organise your training. Okay, that's simple. Really, really easy. Okay, let me see. I think that's it. I can't think of anything else that people are asking. Animal chambers, animal healing centres, the information and the training is identical to the medbed training. Now, everyone who gets trained on the medbeds will also be trained on the animal healing chambers. So you will also need animal handling skills as well. And if you just want to do human medbeds, makes no difference, you will be trained with the animals. If you just want to do animals, makes no difference, you'll be trained on the humans as well. Okay, that is so you get the one training, the same training worldwide. So it's not different in America than it is to Australia, and then different again in New Zealand, and then different again in England, and Africa's different, and it is the same training right around the planet. Okay, right around. Every country is identical. Okay, that means you can go anywhere in the world once you're trained, and you can get a job, and that centre knows that you've had the exact same training. It's not different from country to country. And it's also with the animals, so people don't have to go and do another course. Okay, so they cover it all in the one course, so that you can go, you can spend 2 days at a medbed centre and 2 days at an animal healing centre. Okay, it's all the same. Now, once you complete the training and have been assessed as qualified and responsible enough and experienced enough to go and treat patients, you will receive some form of documentation that you must produce to the medbed centre manager before being allowed to go anywhere near patients. Okay. Now, the amount of time of training will depend on your experience. So if you have an emergency surgeon or doctor, obviously their training time will be shorter. If you have a radiologist, their time will be short. You have a nurse, then they've got to spend a bit more time going into the more complicated details. If you have somebody who has no experience whatsoever, your training could be 18 months, it could be a year, it could be 3 years. It's totally dependent on how fast and how quickly you learn. Okay, it's all up to you. Okay, there's no one size fits all. Everything will be tailored to you. Okay, now remembering, if you are not at a 5D consciousness level, you won't get to operate the med beds. Okay, med beds is 5D technology and works on 5D consciousness. Okay, so this is why you must do the spiritual counselor training. Okay, so that you are at a consciousness level that you can actually interface and work with the med beds based on 5D consciousness. Okay, so that training, the spiritual counselor training, is more likely to take longer than the actual medbed training. Okay, so the spiritual counselor training will be extremely in-depth and will be will have to take 100% priority over every other part of your life, including those developing projects. Okay, some people, some classes, and remember it goes from class A to E, A being absolute beginner, or 1 to 5, I can't remember, and E or 5 being quite advanced in your spiritual development. Okay, so some people might have 1 class a week online, some people might have 3 classes a week online. Okay, now in the spiritual counselor training there will be a period, I believe up to 6 weeks at a time, of in-person training where you will actually stay at a spiritual counselor training facility center for your practical work. And when you're doing spiritual work, there is a lot of practical work involved. It's not just online and talking about things. This counselor training, okay, is open to everybody, everyone. You don't have to be employed by a center to get the spiritual counselor training. Okay, anybody can do it. So most of it will be online, some of it will be in person. Now this takes priority over everything. Okay, if you have projects going, you have to make time to turn up to class on time. I have heard from the Arcturians that if you miss class 3 times without informing your class facilitator before the class begins, then you're out. If you're turning up late, you're out. You know, if it's a consistent trait, you're out. If you don't put in the time and effort, you're out. The spiritual counsel training is 100% commitment. It is more commitment than your projects. Okay, because the counselor training is preparing you for the new earth. If you're not committed to it, then you will not be going through to the new earth. Okay, this is their thinking. This is designed to teach you or return your responsibility of your actions and your time management and yourself. So if you've got a kids football game on the time when your class comes before your kids football game. Okay, if you're making dinner, you can't just go, oh well, I'll watch it later. No, you'll be thrown out. You'll be given the boot. Okay, this spiritual counselor training, they will make sure that you turn up on time, and you give it 100%, or you're out. Okay, so if you get thrown out of the spiritual counselor training, guess what happens? You also get thrown out of the medbed training, because they go hand in hand. So important that you take this seriously. All right, they only want people committed and dedicated to bettering themselves and preparing themselves for the new earth. They don't want people that is doing it half-ass, you know, halfway. Oh yeah, I'll do it when I get to it. No, you do it or you don't do it at all. It's 100% or nothing. Okay, and I absolutely agree with them with this, because humanity has been so lazy and blasé about online things and their own personal life, that they're just, I'm sorry, they're lazy with no personal responsibility, or no sense of responsibility. I know I've done workshops where, you know, 50, 60, 70 people have signed up and paid, but made no effort to actually join the workshop, because, oh, I'll just watch it later, whenever. It really, really downs the energy of the class, and it really, as a class facilitator, it ticks us off. Because people, you put in so much time and effort to prepare the class. You know, sometimes it's months and years worth of preparing a workshop, and only for a handful of people to turn up and actually make an effort. It really, really ticks us off. So if you are going to do any kind of training, either do it 100% and give it all, or don't bother. Okay, it is that simple. It is that simple. Okay, so if you don't turn up 3 times without informing the class facilitator, then you'll be told not to bother turning up again. Okay, and if you are doing the medbed training as well, then you'll be told not to come the next day. Okay, you're out. I believe there may be second chances under, you know, quite important circumstances, but basically no second chances. Okay, this is your one shot or you're out. All right, they're not taking people that just want to be there because it sounds interesting. They only want people that are 100% committed to changing their lives and bettering themselves. So it's a good thing. It really is a good thing. I think that's all I have to tell you. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's all I can think of at the moment. Alright, take care everyone, and yes, I know they did tell me to be quiet and back off med beds, but you know what? We've told them to hurry up with the RV so that we can save this planet and so many more souls. And they're going at snail's pace in a backwards movement, in a backwards direction. They're going forwards but backwards. So, an eye for an eye. You hurry up and I'll be quiet. You know, like, the education of this planet is more important than doing what you're told or respecting requests when it goes on this long. Stuff them. So, yeah, here we are. Alright, take care everyone and have a great day. Love you all. Bye.